It's Friday. You know what that means. We should watch that recorded. We should pod that a few days earlier, but they did it for today and released it the night before, sometimes to feel like we're early. I'm Sushi, here to criticize WWE Creative's decision making, and I'm here with the human review machine, Ashley.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Ashley. I'm here to possibly talk shit about movies you love. I'm so sorry. And to be enthusiastic about the costumes and drama of wrestling. So let's do it. This is
We should pod that.
Episode 7.
Oh, wow.
We should watch that with Ashley and Sushi. Feel the vibes, it's a night so lush.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening here today. We've got some fun stuff to discuss. First, in our look back section, we're going to talk about the long-awaited One Battle After Another. We're going to talk about Eleanor. And then for TV, we're going to get into the season finale of Alien Earth and the latest episode of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. Sush, what do we have for our wrestling?
Yeah. We just got wrestling recaps for SmackDown and Raw.
I don't know if that's justified, but I do like making the sound. Hey, Sush, you used to be a DJ. What's that sound called? Is there a sound for that?
It's an air horn.
Air horn. All right.
Yep.
Well, let's air horn into our next section.
You mean shoehorn?
Yes, thank you. Let's shoehorn the air horn.
Okay.
Into our next section. So we're going to start discussing One Battle After Another, the latest Paul Thomas Anderson movie with Leo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Tiana Taylor. And the way it's described on IMDb is when their evil enemy resurfaces after 16 years, a group of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue one of their own daughter. So basically, Leo DiCaprio is kind of post-revolutionary burnout, but a good dad taking care of his daughter, Willa. And Colonel Lockhart, played by Sean Penn, sort of comes back into their lives and he has to rescue her. It's a pretty wild movie. It's something where there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of moving pieces. Mm-hmm. But I think it's one that you kind of just have to get on board with the vibe, which is kind of weird, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, because I think the title kind of makes sense in relation to how the plot works, because to me, at least, it felt like one of those plots where you didn't really know what the purpose of this movie was, and you really didn't know where it was going, and it was just one thing that happened after another that made sense as far as like the succession of events went. And I would say most of those incidents led to even worse incidents later on, or like at least created more problems than it resolved, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely a snowball type situation. And I think what really shines here is like the acting. I think that Leo he's so good. He really nails the sort of awkward guy who wants to be with the cool kids doing the revolution. I mean, I got the feeling at the beginning when they show you the flashback that he's almost like a hanger-on.
Yeah.
And he like really lucked out in getting with Tiana Taylor's character. And when she leaves, he really just steps up, becomes a irresponsible but loving dad who's really trying to take care of her.
How do you like I'm assuming at least that you've probably seen more Paul Thomas Anderson movies than I have, because
maybe
at least I would say that more of his stuff is on like the artsy side, or at least like it's trying to be that way.
Yeah.
But I guess how would you slot this movie in between the others that he's kind of known for, as far as like mood, because I'm pretty sure at least there's some kind of criteria, like there's some kind of parallel between these movies, whether it be like certain themes or other concepts. And does this movie like deliver some of those better than some of his other ones, or
I think for me, I would probably put this like between I would say Boogie Nights and Inherent Vice. Both of them have sort of lovable loser leads who sort of are a bit hapless. Inherent Vice, I really didn't like, to be honest.
Okay.
I thought it was really mannered, which is an issue I have with some of this. And really kind of not people I want to spend time with at all. Boogie Nights is one where, again, it sort of has that sort of snowball effect.
Yeah.
Where someone's getting thrown into a situation where they're in over their heads and it just gets crazier and crazier.
Yeah. Because I think for us, at least, the most interesting part of doing this review, or at least like analyzing this movie, is our comparison when it comes to, I guess, the majority of what the audience is and even critics think, which is they really highly rate this movie. And I guess it like kind of makes sense, because the only movie that I've seen of his really has been, or at least the only one that I remember pretty vividly is Boogie Nights. So when I'm trying to compare these two movies, I definitely feel like there's a lot of similarities. I agree. Like it's one of those movies where things snowball. Boogie Nights almost does a better job at it, because I almost feel like, because I feel like Boogie Nights, there's some questioning of morality, but I think it's less about that. I feel like Paul Thomas Anderson is very focused on showing consequence, is probably the best way for me to put it. And I
can
think
see that,
that for a movie like Boogie Nights, it works really well because the consequences that are in that movie are what I think most people in society would agree are negative. But I feel like with this movie, it was a little bit different, because there's a couple topics or subjects that they kind of touch on that currently in like the political climate that we live in, like maybe people don't see eye to eye yet. So I think, at least for me, that's probably where it wasn't as strong. With that said, like going into my ratings for it, that seriously impacted my enjoyment. So I only gave it a 2 for enjoyment. But I will admit that the quality of this movie is really up there. I just personally didn't like the story. I think if I liked it, then this could have easily been what we would rate as like a quality entertainment thing. But it's just like the topics, I think maybe it's not the right time for the topics that are being discussed, or basically there's just some weakness to it for me that made it suffer a bit in the enjoyment department. But for quality, absolutely. Like I feel like pretty much all the talent was excellent, especially like Sean Penn, I think for me was disgusting. But I think that was the point of having him in this movie, because his portrayal of this character is just so hideous, and it adds to it. It almost like reassures you that you're feeling the right thing when you're watching it.
Yeah. I mean, so I felt getting into my ratings, I gave it a 2.5. So a little bit more enjoyment. I think a lot of that lies for me in Leo DiCaprio's performance and Benicio. So he has a relatively small role, but he is incredibly funny and cool and relaxed. I really loved it. I think Tiana Taylor's great. Regina Hall, who's also in this, is wonderful. I despised Sean Penn more than I can possibly tell you. Like the character.
Yeah.
I was, Sushi can attest to this. I was like crawling out of my skin in the theater.
Yeah.
I was like covering my eyes because I didn't want to see how disgusting he was being. I was like muttering under my breath quietly, not disruptively. He is despicable. And for that reason, I can't watch this movie again. I won't watch this movie again. And I actually don't like the performance. I think a lot of it is intentional, but I think it's mannered in a way that I'm sure is a choice. I'm sure he was directed to do, but there's all these physical tics that just stand out to me as real like artifice and real like putting a hat on a hat.
Right.
And that on top of the character being so repulsive, it was really hard for me to watch. And then I think overall, the quality, I give it a high score too. I give it a 4. A lot of that's to do with the performances. There's also a lot of humor, especially with Leo DiCaprio, like his burnout self. And this is in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but like forgetting secret passwords he's supposed to know. That was hilarious. There's some really great car chases. There's one at the end that like had me on the edge of my seat. It was gorgeous. But for me, what keeps it from being higher is that I like the initial cast of characters that they show you at the beginning. But I would have preferred the story to be about Tiana Taylor's character,
that would have been
Perfidy of Beverly Hills, or even about Regina Hall's character, Deandra. You know, they're the ones who are much deeper into the revolution. And also, it's a movie that's a lot about white men's obsession with Black women. But it's not so much about the Black women themselves, you know? And I wish we could have seen more from them. So yeah, I'd give it again 2.5 for enjoyment, 4 for quality, and definitely just like watch out with the Sean Penn performance, because you are going to be, whether you like it or you don't, he's going to make your blood boil. So going on to the next movie, which is just a completely different type of film. We've got Eleanor the Great. So this is starring June Squibb, and it's about, after a devastating loss, witty and proudly troublesome Eleanor Morgenstein, 94, tells a tale that takes on a dangerous life of its own. This is kind of interesting because, you know, June Squibb, who's the lead, had a really great performance last year in Thelma. And it's so awesome to see like an older actress really taking on leads. It's also
unfortunately, though, this movie is like not anywhere near the level of quality or enjoyment for me.
I agree.
Thelma. I don't know.
Thelma
I just feel like they just cast her for this role because they needed fairly recently well-known older woman to play this character.
It's not a home run. It's very, so I would say, if I could describe this in one word, it's like saccharine. It's and it's a little weird. Her character, Eleanor, does and says a lot of things that would make you quite angry. But the movie sort of wants us to sort of be like, oh, Eleanor, and just accept everything she does, it feels like.
I do find it strange that this movie is like, it's almost one of those movies that is written or at least directed in such a way where it's almost telling the audience like, oh, don't worry about it. She's just an old lady. She doesn't really know what she's doing. she can't possibly be causing that much trouble kind of attitude.
She's harmless.
Exactly. And I mean, I guess in one aspect, in some aspects, you could consider that to be the case, but I definitely don't believe that she doesn't cause any trouble in this movie, though. I don't know. I feel like
they downplay it a lot, and it gets resolved in a way that's very the way they address it. It's very like wrapped up in a bow.
Yeah, but it's not.
but it's
and that's what's frustrating about it, I guess.
And it's one of those movies where I feel like the way the characters behave doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't. People are acting against their own interests. They're not. I don't know. It just.
What were you saying about this movie as far as like how it felt? I remember you had a way of describing it. Maybe like it was for somebody who did theater or something like that. I can't remember.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. So I used to do some acting, and you can always tell that a movie is written or directed by an actor when everyone has goddamn monologues.
And just so everybody knows, because I don't think we mentioned this. This is a Scarlett Johansson directorial debut, is it?
Yes.
Or is it just another movie?
I think it's her debut. Okay. Yeah. And, it's funny because I know when I used to act, if I was watching something and there's a big, long speech, I'd think, oh, great, I can use that for an audition. But it doesn't make sense in the context of movies most of the time because that's not how people talk.
Right.
As you can tell just from our conversation here, we're interrupting each other all the time, saying asking questions. It's just not how people interact. And there's a minimum of 4 to 5 monologues, like 2+ minute monologues in this.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the things that I didn't really quite put my finger on, but now that you're talking about it, it feels like everybody is taking their turn to provide dialogue. What we call, I guess, the Mission Impossible effect, where the baton basically gets passed to everybody that's involved to like provide their contribution as an actor and then move on.
I know.
I don't know. But
as far as strong suits, there's, I did really like Aaron Kellyman, who you may have seen in, it was Winter Soldier, right?
And the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
And the Winter Soldier. She plays like a college student.
She's a revolutionary in the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I know. There's a revolutionary tie-in here to the last movie. Yeah. But in this, she plays like a young student whose father, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, is a reporter. And she sort of takes a reporting class and gets the idea to interview someone elderly, and she becomes friends with June Squibb's character. And that relationship, that was a strong point in the movie. That's the stuff I liked watching the most. I liked watching when Eleanor was teasing people and being a bit of a scamp, but she could also be quite the jerk.
What'd you rate this because of all that stuff?
I give it a 2 for an enjoyment. Okay. It's not the best movie, but, it's not offensive. It's fine. Okay. For quality, I gave it a bit lower. I gave it 1.5, and that's largely due to the script. I think that there's some really good ideas in here, but I think that the way it came together in the end, I had a lot of questions. Why are they doing this? What's happening? And I think it could be a little harder edge would have been cool. Mm-hmm. What about you for your scores?
I was pretty close to what you had. Enjoyment, I gave it a 2. Quality, I gave it a 2. Mostly because I probably have less context or criticism as far as like filmmaking and those details go, but I think mainly for me it just felt like most of these characters were just very extra.
Yeah.
Like, they were either way too dramatic or just way too in other people's business, I guess.
Yeah.
To really, and like to a degree, too, each of them are a bit self-absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that lent to my enjoyment score, because like that aspect of it was not enjoyable. There's moments, like you said, I think that are sweet, which make it, I guess, watchable. But quality-wise, I think the acting was good on the part of some of the characters, given the material that they were provided. But otherwise, it was fairly low. Like I said, to enjoyment, to quality. I mean, I'm glad I saw this because,
Me too.
you know, I like supporting June Squibb, and I think that I'll see whatever movie she's in, because I feel like as long as she's getting a pretty good role, then, you know.
Yeah. Oh, and also we should say we saw this as part of an AARP screening series that they have throughout the whole country. I think it's called Movies for Grown-Ups, and they do both online and in-person screenings, and it was really sweet. There isn't an age requirement, so but there were a lot of older people at the theater when we saw it, and I loved that about it. I loved that it brought people together. You could hear a lot of like knowing laughs in the audience. So yeah, it's something to check out.
Cool.
Okay, so moving on again to something totally different, totally a change of pace here from the last one, is Alien Earth. So this is our season finale, Real Monsters. And I'm just going to give you a good recap here. So the episode starts with the body of Arthur on the beach. He's had a chest burster the last episode, so he's got a big old hole in his chest, and there's a crab sitting on top of the hole.
Cool.
Our xenomorph comes up, and it's kind of interesting because he sort of takes a look at the crab, and you think he's going to do something, but he just goes away, just slips into the jungle. Next, we see Dame Sylvia. She's laying flowers on the children's graves where their like real bodies are. And Xenomorph pops up and sort of gets in her face. But then when Joe's army unit arrives, he sort of retreats. So we got a couple of Xeno sightings here. Then we cut to a jail cell where the Synths and Joe are imprisoned. So Wendy's like really freaked out by the fact that Synths can die. And she makes a really good point to the other ones. She's like, why have we been afraid of them? They should be afraid of us. She calls the Xenomorph. She shuts down the computers with her, like, I'm going to call it synth magic. And she basically traps Joe's army unit in an elevator. They manage to escape, but you can see already that we're like in for it this episode. Yeah. In another cell, you've got Joe and Morrow, who has his prosthetic, robot arm and a big metal canister, are talking. And Morrow points out to him, like, to become, helped out to be like a synth, to become a cyborg, you have to basically owe your entire life to these corporations. So meanwhile, Cavalier's guard goes to see them, and he's there because Cavalier ordered them to get Joe because Boy Cavalier wants to talk to the eyeball monster. And he said, pick out someone weak. So he goes to get Joe. Morrow manages to break free, killing the guard. Then he goes to blow up the ship and says that Joe can go run off and get the kids. Meanwhile, Timothy Oliphant gets into a fight with Morrow. And as they're in the fight, you see that one of the alien tanks gets damaged. Meanwhile, the children are watching the whole thing on security feeds. And then Boy Cavalier, he is so confident. He just goes and visits the kids, sort of bragging about himself and about how it turns out the first time he built a synth was when he was 6 to be like his father. And then he killed his father and had this synth take over.
Right.
So as a kid, he was running the corporation, but he had a synth that looked like his father being the figurehead.
Damn.
So he thinks he's intimidated them, but they're like, no, we're not scared of you. Not at all. Wendy just opens the gate and she's so cool. She looks at him and goes, well, run. What are you doing standing there? So they follow. She tells her friends to run. Then she breaks the alien out. The other Xeno that's in there and the other aliens. Meanwhile, then Adam, or Atom, Eanes, kind of like the older dude helping out Boy Cavalier, brings Joe to him. And they're trying to get the alien eye into Joe. But luckily, Wendy sort of smashes into the scene. She saves him. And she tells Adam to stop. And he completely freezes. It's the coolest thing. His whole body's frozen except for his eyes, which are darting around. And that's when we realize that he's a synthetic, like Timothy Oliphant's character. So then we see from there, Boy Cavalier is just like skipping down the hall, and the Xeno arrives. Then Joe and Wendy arrive just as the military guys train guns on them. Wendy speaks to the Xenomorph and gets him to kill all the soldiers. And it's pretty gross. Boy Cavalier still thinks that they're there to help him, not to get rid of him. Then the army finds the other aliens and a creepy pod thing, sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like a pod plant sort of comes down from the ceiling and sort of grabs a woman.
It's almost
by the head.
Like a Venus flytrap hanging from the ceiling.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw what the alien did described as disgorging somewhere online. Okay. That's kind of fun.
It reminded me of a monster from Luigi's Mansion 3.
Ooh. Oh yeah, I can totally see that.
Mm-hmm.
So then we got the eyeball monster. This guy, meanwhile, all this is happening, he manages to mosey down to the beach and he sees Arthur jumps into his eyeball socket and the dead body of Arthur just sits up. As this is happening, we see Weyland-Yutani spaceships approaching the island. And Boy Cavalier realizes he's lost control of these kids. And he's kind of freaked out. And then the other synth kids ask Wendy, what do we do now? And it's so cool. The camera zooms in and she says, now we rule. And then it pans out and you can see the adult Xenomorph clinging onto the cage where Boy Cavalier is inside, along with a baby Xeno. And then they play Pearl Jam. Not my favorite, but a very strong end to the episode.
Yeah, they seem to do a good job ending episodes with those 90s grunge tracks. They're pretty solid.
So I have no idea what's going to come next.
Wow.
What'd you think?
Oh, geez. Well, the first thing I want to talk about is, Arthur. He truly gave to this company and to these children.
And he seems like the only good dude.
In so many ways. I just think it's kind of hilarious how he is probably the only person out of everybody who is working for the company that has any sort of moral compass. But he ends up being the person who ends up taking the most for being that way. Weirdly enough, it's first you're a host for Xenomorphs, then your body's being used by the eye monsters. So, way to go. I guess Arthur is really just helping everyone out, whether or not he really wants to, during his life and in his death. So
it was wild.
I don't know. I think that's kind of amusing. I love this episode, if not for just the fact that everybody Prodigy, who has been scheming, finally gets theirs, pretty much. The doctor gets spooked because Wendy does her, computer magic, as I call it. A boy Cavalier, he's now just sitting in a cell with everybody else. Ain's, obviously a synthetic. Wendy has full control over him. So
that was really cool. That was one of my favorite reveals.
Yeah.
Because you think he's a human this whole time, and then he's completely frozen. His eyeballs moving around, like, what is happening? Yep. Oh, that was great.
Yeah, and it makes sense for like the type of guy or type of, I was thinking about it after the reveal. I'm like, oh yeah, it kind of parallels most other synths, They're like pretty direct, not necessarily like mean. Because if you really analyze it, I don't think he's like necessarily harsh, but he's just very direct. So,
yes,
I don't think synths want to speak in nuance. Like they're trying to get to the point. I think it's a little bit different with Timothy Oliphant's synth character, because I feel like he omits some things because he knows that Boy Cavalier is just a pain in the ass to deal.
Yes.
But yeah, to a degree, I feel like there's certain parallels, but if you really look at it, you can kind of tell like, oh, okay, I guess they're not really taking sides, or they're not really necessarily being like mean towards anybody. It's just like they're programmed to do certain things, and like they're, following that stuff. So whatever. I'm trying to think of what else. Did we see Milk Blood in this?
Oh my God, yes, we did.
Milk Blood.
Timothy Oliphant, Milk Blood. I just love him in this. I want to get a spinoff with him just being sarcastic alien guy. I love the way he plays it. He's so calm at all times.
Yeah.
And he
Well, I mean, it's a synth, so.
Right, exactly. But he has this look in his eye like, well, I have to do what they say, but I sure as hell know better than all these people. You can tell he can see through everything, but is programmed to have to put up with their bullshit, basically. Plus, I don't know. I just love Timothy Oliphant. Yeah. It was great. So, yeah, I thought it was an awesome episode. I love that we got a lot of good alien nastiness. You get to see a lot of stuff of the kids regaining their power. You get to see some people get their comeuppance, and it's cool that Yutani's arriving, because that leads it into an interesting place for the next season.
You got any theories or hopes for next season?
I don't. I just think we're in. I think. I think that the kids are feeling very confident right now.
Yeah.
They really think that they're in charge of everything. And I think that they're going to realize once Yutani comes in that they're not, because we already know, because of what happens in the future, that Yutani sort of becomes the preeminent corporation. Yeah. So they have a lot of power, and they must have really strong strategy to be able to manage these things, and a lot more wisdom, obviously, than Boy Cavalier. So it'll be interesting to see how they face off against her. Yeah, but that's the only thing that I am most intrigued by. But I feel like we're in really good hands with this. So I'm more just curious to see what happens next.
It's like looking forward to things, like what made me think about that was the whole scene where the eye monster takes Arthur over, and you're kind of looking at it because obviously the shot is pretty wide, and you see he's on the beach, and it goes from there, I think, if I remember correctly, until the Yutani forces approaching the island.
Right.
So there's a part of me that really was thinking, yeah, this is a good way of kind of explaining how they kind of enclose this problem, because I'm assuming that even though the creators are not as concerned with how it stands up to the rest of the Alien franchise, they at least wanted to kind of make sense, or at least I would assume so.
Yeah.
And this makes it that way because, you can tell these aliens don't really have a desire to move off of this island at all. Like they're staying in place, and they're almost just defending their own territory. I mean, that plays into, I guess, like the whole communication between Wendy and the aliens, because if you think about it, they're not necessarily just killing. Even when they're being directed at others, they're not necessarily always killing, because we get that one scene where the xenomorph just bumps the doctor out of the way in the course of trying to kill the soldiers, but doesn't kill the doctor. So I think that's kind of interesting. And I hope that they kind of go through what is going to separate these hybrids from how humans treat these aliens. Because the whole basis behind Yutani wanting these alien species are to weaponize them somehow. And the hybrids are basically doing that. So how do we reconcile that idea, I guess, and how do they think they stand apart from people? And I think they're not abusing, I guess, the situation too. So I think there's a lot of moral questions that'll be interesting to dive into in the next season. So looking forward to that.
Great. And so our next TV show we're going to discuss is Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. This is the 4th episode, La Justicia Fronteriza. And it starts out with Roberto sort of lashing out at Daryl and Carol and blaming them for Justine's capture and refusing to leave. So Daryl and Carol, and then also he's mad at Fede. He storms off, sort of leaves the group divided on what they're going to do. Then it jumps to the beach where Captain Jeanette, I'm not saying that right.
I don't know. Maybe.
But she, basically, the badass ship captain with the young poly lovers. Yeah. So she and her crew are celebrating this big milestone to the repairs they're doing to the boat. They get the rudder on. But then these raiders in animal masks, launch a surprise attack.
Right.
There's this massive bloody fight that follows.
We mentioned this in the bonus episode from one of the previous, the earlier episodes.
Yes, they're from the 2nd episode we first see them. And then this bloody fight follows. Cooper, who is one of her lovers, who was actually planning to go with Daryl and Carol to help them on their journey, he's killed by Daryl after he turns zombie. It's sad. It's a sad thing. Then we've got back in town, people spot the raider convoys approaching, and they go out and ring a bell to let everyone know. The defenders, everyone at the town, they sort of brace as these jeeps smash through the barricades. And then in like one of the coolest things that happens, they first, there's a couple really interesting uses of zombies in battle in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
The first one is that the town people have like cages full of zombies outside of the border of the town, and they unleash them so that while they're shooting down at the raiders, the zombies start attacking them. And then there's another cool, crazy escalation, which is...
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool. The raiders catapult a bunch of it's got to be in some sort of wooden structure.
I think it's like just a bunch of flaming... It's like some flaming zombies, full-on flaming zombies, and there's like some just like random parts.
Yeah, it's just like shrapnel and flaming zombies, and they just catapult them in. It's crazy.
That's great.
Yeah. So then Antonio, Carol, and Daryl are fighting to protect the settlement, while Roberto proves himself in combat before he slips away to a stolen car because he wants to go and rescue his lady love. His escape kind of sparks this conflict between Daryl, Fede, and Antonio, one of Fede's people, because Antonio kind of he has a gun pointed at the car when he's trying to escape. And when Daryl points out that it's Roberto in the car, he doesn't stop. He's like about to shoot him.
Yeah, that's true.
So kind of weird there. I'm sure that'll be revisited.
Mm.
Then Fede interrogates a captured raider who then tells him that the name of the group is like their primitivos, claiming that their mission is to destroy everything. So basically, they're like nihilist anarchists.
Yeah.
And Fede is like, well, he does this thing where he's like, I'm not going to kill the raider, but like, I'm going to just like put him in front of a bunch of walkers and see what happens. And I think we know what happens.
Yeah.
But one of the things he learns during that interrogation is that the primitivos are aware of the guy that is giving them protection. So they're not necessarily connected to them, but basically they've been watching. They know what's happening in the town.
Yeah.
So then, determined to find Roberto, Carol and Daryl and Antonio, they head out together on the road and they find a crashed truck with Justine's compass necklace, which is something that Roberto had given her. So they know that they're together. And then the episode ends.
Gotcha.
It was a cool one. Lots and lots of action.
Yeah. I think there's I like the episode. I definitely like when The Walking Dead and the spin-off shows are able to innovate despite how long they've been doing this stuff.
Yeah.
The cool zombie catapult thing.
That was awesome.
Was awesome. I know you and I definitely thought it was a parallel to the Tollywood movie Bahubali.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that was really cool. I appreciate that they wrapped it up after acknowledging that Roberto and Justine are together at least.
Yes.
I know that they don't reveal like what their fate is, but I do like when the show at least gives us some kind of hope. And I think that this was their way to do that, at least at the end of this episode, given how much bad stuff had happened in this battle. Well, I was almost thinking that they would reveal that the Primitiva were directly related to the protection racket thing.
I thought so too.
Yeah, I almost
surprised.
thought that they would talk to these guys and they'd end up being like normal dudes who just dress up in animal skins to go and attack people. And they're literally just part of the same group that provides the protection to these people. In a way, I'm glad that they didn't do that, but I think that would have been hilarious if they did that. I'm glad they didn't do it because it would have been kind of cheap if they did it that way. And usually whenever they do this stuff, there's bound to be some sort of conflict that arises once they are no longer on the winning side.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that later this season. Yeah. Overall, I definitely think that this episode had a lot more going for it than maybe like the last two. The last one wasn't bad, but I think the pacing definitely was like a lot slower than the two episodes before this. But this one, there was a lot going on. And it didn't seem too saturated. It felt natural to like developing the progress of this show and the plot, advancing the plot. So, all in all, I think it was a good episode. I'm looking forward to finding out, the fate of Roberto and Justine, and then, more about like whatever the situation is with the Primitiva and the people who are like offering protection. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't put this in the summary because it's not one of the main plot points, but also after the attack, Roberto has a little speech that's honestly what we were sort of chatting to ourselves about, which is like, why do they pay protection money if they're not getting protected?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why are they having a woman raffle all the time?
Yeah.
If these dudes in animal masks just come in and grab them.
Yeah, like anytime. Right.
So I think that that's going to lead to, and Fede was still defending the whole protection racket, but I think that's going to lead to some big conversations in the town.
Oh, yeah,
people.
for sure.
And then you've got, of course, the adventure of them going to find Roberto and Justine. That'll be great.
Yeah.
There's also some good character stuff in here. There's some sweet moments where you really see how Carol and Daryl have differing opinions on what's happening here and their responsibility and about community, but they still love each other so much.
Yeah, they are handling different aspects of their friendship. One of them is the hard-headed person who's always suspicious, and then the other person is a little bit more open and thinks that they need to lean on other people sometimes. And I think the combination of them both, like, is basically, I feel, what leads them to being survivors for this long.
Yeah,
in the Walking Dead universe. So I think,
such a good team.
Yeah, they're a great team, and I think that, man, I'm so glad that they brought Carol into the series because before they did, I was like, I know Norman Reedus can carry a show by himself, but I just didn't know if there was going to be enough material. But I think him and Carol playing off of each other, it's perfect, and it keeps things moving. And I think there's definitely a difference in how the episodes have felt, like, since Carol's been on the show. You know, there's definitely a lightness because Daryl himself can be a little depressing sometimes.
Yeah, he's very depressing.
Yeah.
Boy. All right. So, cool. Let's head into our look ahead. So, this coming week, we have a lot of things on our to-do list. So, I think the two big ones I think that we're most excited about, or at least I am, The Smashing Machine, which is the new rock movie. I'm excited because it's based on a documentary by a filmmaker I really like. Cool. Spoiler alert, you can't find the documentary anywhere anymore. Then we've got Good Boy. Oh my gosh. This is the movie where a couple filmed their dog and then basically made a horror movie around the footage of their dog. So the trailer is really cool. We're kind of curious about Bone Lake. It looks like a good trashy movie.
We just think it's funny that, like, the marketing is really leaned into, like, the humor side of it. Like, we came across one of the ads where they purposely put, like, the R rating after the bone in Bone Lake, so it looks like Boner Lake. Man, these guys know what they're doing, and I love this. I mean, like, I don't know if I'll like the movie if I see it, but I definitely like where these people's heads are at as far as, like, pitching this movie and not taking it too seriously. I am just, since we've started watching, I guess, movies more in the horror genre, I definitely appreciate those horror movies that, poke fun at themselves because there's something about that type of stuff that really gets to me. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. And then, our sort of back burner movies we might see, Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie. We love to see a children's movie at like 10:30. It's sort of funny. Yeah. And Dead of Winter, that one with Emma Thompson.
Cool.
For TV, we got more Daryl. And we're looking for another TV show. If you have recommendations, let us know.
I think we're going to do the Chair Company when that starts.
Oh, hell yeah. That's right.
Maybe we'll give ourselves a week of a break or maybe do like an extra movie or something next week. But
yeah, we're a Tim Robinson household, so that'll be exciting.
Awesome.
Cool. So what do we have coming up in our wrestling recap?
Yeah, this week we just got SmackDown and Raw recaps. Let me just get right into it. Feel free to jump in at any moment because we got a lot of stuff to cover. I definitely got a lot of feelings to share this week. All right, SmackDown on the 26th in Orlando, Florida. Let's kick it off with promos and drama recap. Paul Heyman kicks out the show with a promo regarding all his dealings, basically for everything from Seth and the Vision to Brock Lesnar conspiracy theories. But he gets interrupted by Cody Rhodes, who comes out and basically questions him on his loyalties by asking whether he's talking to the Advocate, the Wise Man, or the Oracle. Heyman basically just responds saying that he's talking to the GOAT. And then, as such, he respects Cody confronting him about Brock. since Brock endangers everyone when he's around.
Okay.
With that said, like the Bronze approach the ring as he's saying this. Basically just saying Brock not being there doesn't mean that Cody's in any less danger. So Cody gets into a brawl with, the Bronze. Then Randy Orton runs out to help. We get a quick shot of Randy staring at the WWE World Championship belt. As he picks it up, hands it over to Cody, basically setting up a future storyline. They've been doing this for a while. I think they did this also like some other time before.
I love when they look at
yeah.
It's like they're doing their best acting, when they look longingly at a belt. I love it.
For sure. And so here we go with the criticism of how this, again, having so many storylines and not really knowing how to pay them off, and the PLEs like kind of being a bit cramped. Well, maybe not as much now, but like earlier on in the year has led to this glut of like marketing and promotion that needs to happen every time before the next PLE. So yeah, this time we get Crown Jewel promos with Stephanie Vaquer just walking around, making the rounds through a few different backstage segments where she confronts Jade, Tiffy, and Nia as potential challengers in that order, since she really doesn't have any other reason to be there. We get sad Drew McIntyre.
Oh, yeah.
He's sad. He's so sad that he doesn't even do a cool pose for his pyro. Like, he just comes to the ring and goes into some conspiracy theorist tirade about Cody's win. We get some great interruptions from Nick Aldis and Jacob Fatu, both of which we just tell him to shut up. Fatu and Drew get into a scuffle. And since Drew came out with a walking boot, Fatu had to hit him with it over the head. So, that was fun. We get a fun Chelsea Green and Alba Fire moment backstage where they're recruiting for their Slagent position for the Secret Service. And they basically asked Nia Jax if she wants to serve there. Yeah, it was fun, but it's also a bit bittersweet since it obviously seems like the Piper is going to be out for a while. And
I know. I love Piper. It's such a shame.
Feel better, Piper.
Yes, we miss you, Piper.
Holy crap. WWE almost made me forget that Kit Wilson was still on their roster at this point. And I forgot he got chokeslammed by Damian last week. Like, I literally had to look up and find out that Kit and Pretty Deadly haven't been on TV since like January. I don't really get why, but they involve them in this whole conflict between Damian Priest and Aleister Black while they're backstage. So that's that. Getting into the matches, we had the number one contenders match for the WWE Tag Team Championships between Mellow Miz and the Street Profits. I was glad to see the Street Profits pretty much back at the top of the SmackDown Tag Team division again. Just glad we're getting closer to them challenging the Wyatt Six, because I am getting tired of these teasers for this damn match when those guys have barely wrestled since they won the titles. What else? Oh, yeah. If The Miz wasn't so good at playing such an oblivious egomaniac, I'd say that the whole silly back and forth between him and Carmelo Hayes was getting old. But I felt like this week's incident was pretty obvious and inexcusable. So I'm glad Mello finally had a reaction without questioning himself, and they're finally getting to the end of this crap. So, yeah.
I love it. My knowledge of The Miz is primarily from Road Rules 20 years ago or whatever. So I'm sort of getting to know his character in the last, honestly, couple months when he's been featured more heavily. And he just cracks me up. He's good-natured, but man, he steps on a lot of feet by mistake. And I think that's like a fun character to have in there.
Yeah. Moving on to the next match, we had Julia and Kiana James versus B-Fab and Michin. Let's see. Shout out Michin for hitting the DX Suck It during this match.
Oh, yeah.
It was nice to see B-Fab in a match, but I think it's hilarious that whenever they have a woman who like really doesn't wrestle do it for the first time on TV, and they don't really have an existing look for her gear. They just default to what I call hazmat stripper uniform, which basically is just like boots and gloves, but otherwise scantily clad in some feminine color. So, yeah, I have to assume this is what happened, because how do you explain BFAB going from being really on point with all of her fashion and then to the sad excuse for an outfit? I don't know.
It looks like a Tiffy outfit, but like not a prime Tiffy outfit.
Yeah, it looked like a throwaway Tiffy outfit.
Yeah, and it looked great on her. She's super hot.
Yeah. Now that you bring that up, it totally does seem like somebody made it and like they didn't want to let it go to waste. And they gave it to
it's just not. It's not cool enough for a girl who has an amazing like crazy metal ear cuff like she does. You know, like she deserves better.
Yeah, but I thought it was funny that like after this they shoot to a backstage segment. So thank you to the WWE for reminding us all that the women's division does in fact have tag team titles, and they belong to Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. I don't really get the point if this is what the backstage segment was for, because the only other thing that happened is that we're reminded that these tag team titles are open to women on NXT too, because they show Sol Ruka and Zarya, but there's like no setup for a match of any kind, which is just weird.
Yeah, it was kind of a lot of setup this episode.
Yeah. We had the US Championship Open Challenge with Sami Zayn versus Javon Evans.
This blew my mind.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I want to see Javon Evans fight everyone every day. He's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched him somewhat on NXT when I catch that. Just like always high flying energy. I've seen a few of his matches, but like this definitely was one of the best because, you know, I mean, there's so many believable near pinfalls, and it really makes up for, you know, the next and final match of the night. What can I say about Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill?
The much discussed
for the WWE Women's Championship. I mean, if you haven't heard about this mess of a match by now, you probably want to actually watch clips of the thing to get an actual feel of how bad it was. Like, I can admit I'm not incredibly knowledgeable about everything wrestlers are supposed to do in ring or whose fault certain incidents are or aren't. But as somebody that critiques the perceived quality of entertainment, I don't think I could deny this match was like pretty low quality. Nobody was particularly great. Nia was moving pretty slow. Jade got seriously hurt when she shouldn't have, and she had some other botches or like messy moments. And then there's a very obvious botch where the ref stopped a 3 count on 2, and Nia didn't sell the kick out until a few seconds later, which was hard to overlook. But yeah, that was it. Like, definitely take a look at the videos if you haven't seen it already, and you'll know what I'm talking about. But we end with Vicari and Tiffy holding their belts up and getting in each other's faces to promote their match at Crown Jewel. You know,
it was awful because first you see like a really bad injury with Jade sort of smashing her face into the quote steel steps, and you can tell it's bad. And her the count out thing, it just was uncomfortable to watch. I mean, we've sort of watched a bit since then, and I think I understand that it's a lot more complicated than one person being at fault. Yeah, but it still was just like uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah. But at least Raw was a lot better. Moving on to Raw on the 29th, this past Monday in Raleigh, North Carolina. Let me go through the promos and drama stuff. Well, Rhea Ripley kicks out the show by calling out the Kabuki Warriors and challenging them to meet her in ring. But, mainly she's focusing on Asuka and the attack on Io. Sad Io heads into the ring to meet Rhea. Again, making excuses for Asuka and Kairi being family. Asuka with Kairi interrupt via satellite, or we're led to believe that's the case. But Io is conflicted and ends up telling Rhea she can't walk out on the Kabuki Warriors. And as she's like walking away, leaving the ring, going backstage, the Kabuki Warriors sneak in and attack Rhea. So Io runs back to the ring to defend Rhea and ends up getting green misted by Asuka.
Yeah.
Then, craziness ensues. Officials run in, break things up. I'm just glad Io's finally been forced to take a side.
Yes, agree.
Yeah, and they really try to reinforce this later because they have like another backstage segment where Kairi tries to appeal to like Io, but she isn't having it. And then also like Rhea was like questioning whether Io will be ready for a match against the Kabuki Warriors at Crown Jewel and if she's committed to like being in a tag team. But, we get pretty good reassurance from Io. So that was cool. Let's see.
I love the green mist. I will always love the green mist.
Let's see what else. Oh yeah, these LA Knight and Adam Pearce backstage segments.
Yes.
Man, they're killing me. Like WWE may not know what to do to fix the problems that they're dealing with, but they sure as hell know how to pile on a good thing after another when they have like New Day interrupt to try to talk to Adam about tag team stuff. So like this whole exchange just like gets blown out of the water. Like it's just like a mess. But yeah, from it, Kofi gets a match with LA Knight basically for, causing trouble and stuff. What else? Moving on. I feel like WWE Creative has been leaning hard on these video packages lately because they created a long one for the upcoming match between Cody and Seth at Crown Jewel, which basically provides the entire timeline in a conversational monologue format. I guess like at least their video editors have job security, but I think I clocked it at being about 4 minutes of like just them monologuing. It like swaps back and forth between the two of them. It's kind of ridiculous.
That's longer than a Jey Uso entrance even.
I know, that's crazy.
That's long.
Well, moving on to more stuff that I kind of am tired of. I can't express how much I dislike this crazy Bayley driving sane Lyra insane story arc. But what's absolutely hilarious about this is Lyra in this episode basically nails the problem with this whole thing in her backstage rant. WWE finally ended Melodope Miz on SmackDown, on Friday. So maybe we could be lucky enough for them to drop this stinker of a storyline soon. But I think that might be wishful thinking because like later on we get an announcement for Lyra versus Roxanne on next week's Raw. So we're pretty much like need to strap in for more crazy Bayley stupidity. There's more of what I like to refer to as inter-Uso drama.
I like that.
Jimmy and Jay get into it over helping other people, specifically LA Knight. Basically, Jay says that if he stopped helping people, he might be the world heavyweight champion again. But Jimmy still looks at him like, that boy ain't right. And yeah, this happens again later on. It's kind of funny. Let's see, what else? Oh, yeah. Why does WWE seem to want to keep pitting Maxine Dupree against Becky Lynch? Because there's an announcement like later on in the episode about a match between them like on next week's Raw. They're severely mismatched. So even if this is like some attempt by creative to make Becky look like an even bigger heel while elevating Dupree as viable competition in the women's division, it totally feels forced. Especially with like Becky attacking Tozawa, like over Dupree mentioning how like Becky is afraid of AJ Lee. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that was dumb. It's just weird.
Yeah.
You don't like to see someone who's at the top of their game pick on someone who's like starting out.
Yeah,
that's
and
the
what
worst.
Almost makes it even worse is that she walks over to Seth, who's kind of in his own world, like staring at the watch Cody gave him, and like this definitely like feeds into my theory that the Vision is going to split. But like it also contrasts like how not good Becky is at being convincing, but how Seth really is good when he wants to be convincing. Because like it really feels like he's caught up with this whole thought process about whether or not he's better than Cody. Yeah, this episode, I really felt it. Up until now, I think you definitely been like hovering in like what I call the clownosphere with his actions. But like this time, yeah, I definitely think he's serious about this match with Cody. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, Seth heads in ring to cut a promo that definitely sounds more like a pep talk to himself about being at the top of the future of their industry, since the crowd doesn't seem to agree with him. I kind of love this because I'm 100% behind Paul Heyman working for Brock behind Seth's back. I personally like Seth better as like an anti-hero type babyface character because it seems more natural to him than this weird egomaniac he's been playing. I mean, yeah, he's done the character that I like before, but everything's been done in pro wrestling. So yeah, and like Cody is amazingly inspiring as a pure babyface. It like just makes you really want Seth to turn.
Yeah.
Seth really just delivers some of his best mic work in recent memory. Man, even Paul Heyman trying to like butter him up doesn't work when Cody's and Seth said solid. Let's see what else. I think it's hilarious when WWE seems to refer to the existence of AEW. And it's kind of how I took Seth's dig about how, he stayed at WWE while Cody left the company. It's like they make such an effort to counter program that company. I don't get why they even have anyone cut a promo that even acknowledges their existence. Like, because anyone with a basic overview of pro wrestling like knows about, Cody and like how much he meant to AEW's success earlier on. So yeah, I just think it's funny. But anyway, let's see what else. Absolutely nothing against Dragon Lee or AJ Styles, but I just felt like WWE having them do a really forced sales pitch for their upcoming AAA title match and match against John Cena, respectively, was a bit cringe. I don't even care if like they want to do another ad or a video spot or something like that, but like whenever they do the in-ring stuff like this, and I got to sit through it, man, I feel like I should be paid at least like a little TKO stock. Just like a little bit, like I've wasted my time. Like, just give me a little stock and I'll shut up. It's totally fine.
What gets me is it feels like a school presentation.
Yes, it
like
does.
You tell them about this and then I'll tell them about my upcoming thing. And it was very awkward. It wasn't integrated well at all.
Yeah, I don't know. Moving on to the matches. We had an Intercontinental Championship match between Dominic Mysterio with Finn Balor and JD McDonough versus Rusev. Finn and JD hilariously leave and head backstage immediately after walking down to the ring.
It was great.
This match wasn't bad at all. Dom actually looked real good, even without his hijinks, but this is Dirty Dom. So even when he failed to knock Rusev out with his Intercontinental belt and, gets caught trying to set him up by throwing him the belt, he still manages to get away with things later when he kicks Rusev in the nuts, like, and rolls him up to the pin. So, yeah, that was fun.
I just love it.
It's totally channeling Eddie Guerrero. So, yeah, I appreciate that. I'm trying to see what else. Oh, yeah, we got Bayley versus Raquel Rodriguez with Roxanne Perez. I appreciate seeing Raquel in the ring more often. That's the cool part, I guess, for this. But I don't know if I appreciate having to sit through this crazy Bayley shit, like, for that to happen, I guess I could appreciate that Raquel got the win, even if this is just eventually leading to another crazy Bayley moment at the end of the match. Lyra runs out to help again, and yeah, it's another one of those things. Moving on. We had LA Knight versus Kofi Kingston with Xavier Woods. Oh my God. The entrances for this match made me think that maybe I need to start nominating like a greasiest wrestlers of the week thing, because LA Knight and Xavier were like tripping.
They were soaking wet.
Yeah. And side note, if you haven't checked out Xavier Woods' Facebook for his videos about the Mexican Destroyer, man, you are missing out. It's pure comedy. Like, you got to follow him on Facebook.
It's art. It's beautiful.
But yeah, overall solid match. I appreciate the added hijinks and comedy from Woods. No Mexican Destroyer petition comedy this week, probably since Grayson Waller wasn't on the episode, but having LA Knight in consistent matches makes me hopeful that they're pushing him as an upcoming challenger for World Heavyweight Championship title. So yeah, hope that happens. Moving on, we had AJ Styles and Dragon Lee versus Los Americanos. They gave them names, Rio and Bravo. Yeah, and they came out with El Grande Americano. Not a bad match. I mean, it had a fun finish, but I just couldn't seem to get the taste of like sales pitch for AJ Styles versus John Cena out of my mouth. Yeah. And then moving on to the last match of the night, there's a tornado tag team match between the Vision's Bronze with Paul Heyman versus the Usos. Yeah. Braun did not look his normal shade of Peking duck this match. Did he miss a tan appointment this week or something? Or is it just an optical illusion because he was pretty matte this week when he's usually pretty grease? I don't know.
Yeah, he was
Maybe
looking...
somebody give me the answer.
He was looking dry for sure. Maybe it's all the wrestlers making fun of him for his tan is finally
Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
For what else? For as much as they're trying to sell us this rift forming between the Usos, man, they still look fantastic together in this match. And like, yeah, they can't help from looking like they're still having a great time, you know, even from like the entrance. So
I love it.
But yeah, don't tell me that I'm a hard sell or that like I don't get wrestling, because I know I could be really, really critical about how much things are like recycled in pro wrestling, even within WWE's own history. But there's one thing that I will not complain about, and that's Braun Breaker feeling the need to jump from the ring into or onto the announce table on like a weekly basis and just screaming random insults directly into the camera. We need more of that. This is some of their best work that they're putting out there. I just want to say how much I've been enjoying that part of this show. So yeah.
The screaming, the barking, I love it all.
Exactly. Yeah. The head twitch.
Yeah.
That's great.
Head twitch is prime.
But yeah, we get Roman Reigns' return within the last few minutes of the end of the episode. OTC walks in with a chair in hand and just lays the Browns out. Leads to a double Uso splash in the win. But while Roman seems to want to feed Jay's anger, encouraging him to, quote, smash them all, Jimmy continues to give that this boy ain't right look to his brother. So that's kind of funny. And that's the end of that, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for upcoming, as I've been saying for the last few weeks, next PLE for WWE is Crown Jewel in Perth, Australia on the 11th. That's going to be in the morning because they're like half a day ahead.
Yes.
And then on the 18th, we have AEW Wrestle Dream taking place in St. Louis, Missouri. So that's what we got for that. That's about it for this week.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you everyone for listening. We really appreciate you. We would love it if you are so moved to do so, to subscribe, rate, and review us. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.
Ashley made like a really cool and funny short from our last, podcast. It's on TikTok right now.
Aw, thank you. And hopefully there will be more to come.
Yep.
So thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Yep. Take it easy.
Bye.
Friendships touch. Movies and delights will share so much. Let's enjoy this night. Oh, what a lovely night.
Yeah, man.